Oh, the indignity! Somebody at the big toy factory's finally worked out I needed some wheels put back on and given me some nice big detailing. But why did it take so long to sort out? Oh! I can't believe this! Get out of there! Get out of there now!
Warning. This video is made for a general audience. It may contain adult themes, consumer advice, and information that can be enjoyed by all ages. I need to say this because, sadly, the YouTube systems are totally dumb ass.
I'm a creature of habit. I've come back to the store which has had all the problems with, well, obviously getting Thomas stock in and also the prices of the Thomas stock. Do you think they've repaired stuff? Now, I've got videos up about this problem and I've spoken to people here about it. No. The same problem goes on. It's all the wrong prices. Empty pegs in the Thomas land, crikeys. I really thought it'd be resolved by now, but obviously not. I can see Carly has been selling. There's only 3 of her left, which is nice, but unfortunately, that's not the price. It's a $12 toy. I'm looking over here at the Trackmaster 3 motorized. Okay, that Thomas there's a keeper for me because I can see it's got the line work error going on. Wow, there are so many like that. It's unbelievable. And when I'm buying this Thomas, I'll be getting it for $15. And not $16 is what it scans at. There's also another Thomas here. This Thomas looks a-okay. There's a diesel here, which is nice to see. And of course, well, there's Nia. Boo, boo, boo. Now I'm seeing more of the Trackmaster 3 all engines go stock. The printing of the face on the engines can be all over the place, and maybe between these two Thomases here. And look very carefully where the eyes are versus the nose. This seems to be a fairly common thing you see. Is it a factory error or fault? Well, it just seems to be the way they're done. So yes, this one's a keeper for me, but there's something else I want to show you here, and this is the last thing I'll show you here, where the Thomas stock was, and this used to be full of Thomas stock. Look at that there. It does really feel like the Thomas all engines go stuff is very popular. And remember, when the shelves are like this, the wondrous toy companies can't make a cent. Not 1 cent. And of course, the same can be said about the pegs. Maybe it's because this new Thomas AEG is so popular, but I really think it's to do with the supply chain's epic fail that I've been seeing over the last couple of years. It never seems to stop. Okay, let me do a bit of table talk here, and I've got a few things to cover. The first thing I will say is I did come in and I used the code 11 to get these at the peg price at that dumb store. There's a receipt there to prove that I didn't shoplift these items out of store. The diesel's okay, and we'll just gently put him away. And of course the Thomas here will go into my collection of the Thomases that have the bad line artwork, and crikey Charlies, I tell you what, that collection is getting quite stupendous. And if you see anybody online trying to flog these saying this is a rare defect and hard to find, please do not believe them. I'm finding this style of custom line work to be quite a regular thing, and I'll just gently push those aside. Continuing on the idea of things that aren't quite done square and right, I found this Thomas here, and I will just drag it up the front here and we'll get a nice close look at the face. Okay, take a look at the face there. We're looking at the relationship between the eyes and the nose, and one eye is basically touching the nose, and that's a bit unusual. If I do a bit of frigging with the rigging and move a light round behind me, and if I bring in one of the Thomases that had the bad line work, and we're just looking at faces here. Okay, I'll line it up like that, and I'll go in a touch closer. Okay, looking very carefully at these two Thomas faces, the one I'm going to point to is where the eye is too close to the nose. The other one seems to be a-okay, but if you're in store, a message to parents. YouTube, did you hear that? A message to parents. Just carefully look over the toy, make sure everything's in the right spot, because there seems to be a fair bit of, how would I call it, custom character work going on many of these new Thomas AEG toys. Certainly seems to be a bit of a theme to what's going on in the factory. Let me just gently put these aside, and let me drag forward these 4 here. Okay, this is the lovely Thomas All Engines Go 3 pack with the beautiful troublesome truck and a cow. And unfortunately, these ones here have the line work error, and it's quite dramatic on the muddy Thomas. Now, I made the video in store of the discovery of these toys on the shelf of the store, and I had someone lay a comment on YouTube, and that person can't comment on my channel anymore because they said I was doing something like this. Oh, look at this. That's an error one, and I was taking it off screen but somehow presenting it to the back again to present another one, and they thought I was doing some form of visual fraud. I wasn't doing a David Copperfield. There were actually 4 of them, and in the video I'm pretty sure I do a shot something like this. Okay, and it's the problem. People watch things and they never see the truth. It just annoys me, and looking at this, there are varying degrees of how too low the line work is, but I think the worst one is this one here. That's very, very low set. And of course the $20,000 question is it like that on the other side? Now, from the YouTubers who have reviewed this toy but not noticed they've got ones with the line artwork problem, when the little toy train spins around because they've unboxed theirs, there's no fault going on, from what I can see, going on the other side. It seems to be, from what I've seen, and I might be wrong, it seems to be only on one side. It sort of gets back to the whole thing. There's the right way to make something and there's the other way. I'll say it like that, and I think that's the other way here, and I'll gently put those over there. Okay, we're getting down to our last few things to talk about in this video, and the next thing I'll talk about is this frippin' Hot Wheels. Okay, just looking at this Hot Wheels gets my blood pressure very high. It was very tricky for me to find this. It is marked as 2019, although I didn't find these where I live until 2020. And of course 2020 was one of those really strange years, and we can't discuss what happened in that year and the next year, or else this video gets dumped, or some weird thing will be attached to the video to try to give you health advice. But it was near impossible for me to find these in numbers. Okay, I've actually made a video about this toy and the search for it. I bumped into Hot Wheels collectors along the way, and they were very interesting to talk to, and I think they explained to me part of what was going on in relation to this toy here, which is now worth online way more than the peg price. Okay, but what I've noticed since this toy was on the pegs, and this is the thing that really nags me, is the non-Thomas version of it, it keeps reappearing, and that's a typical Hot Wheels thing. They just keep reissuing the car in different formats, and there's so many of these on the pegs, it's not funny. They don't get touched. It's like the little unpopular Hot Wheels, and I mean, every time I see another variant of it in store, I just flare up. Okay, I've actually got quite a collection. I've started to collect these because I thought that's the only way I can win, because I couldn't find any Thomases apart from a few. And this is the one that I just found that today as I'm making this video, and it just made me flare up again. It's nice. Look, I like the look of this one. It's really nice, but it's not a Thomas the Tank, and that's what really pisses me off. I noticed this in store because it's one of those gold spangly dangly toys, and of course it's a frickin' Loco Motorin, and that got me flared up. But when I went to make this video and I dragged out the other versions I had, I thought, wow, I'd like that, but there's elements of that I like as well. I would pull this one apart. I would get rid of the black core and the brown base, and what I like on this one is the black base and the chrome core. So if you imagine marrying those two together, it'd be a frippin' very hot and very nice looking custom Hot Wheels. If I had maybe more gold ones, maybe I'd do it. Okay, that's done. Let me get rid of this rubbish here, nice and gently, of course. Oh, it's going to be a double take on that one. Next for the slaughterhouse are going to be a nice close look at these two Gordons. This Gordon here is copyright 2021. It's from Thomas & Friends, All Engines Go. It looks pretty spiffo in packaging here. I do believe there's some plastic going on in parts that may have been metal in previous incarnations of this toy, but nevertheless, for what I see here, it looks spectacular. If I go back one generation of toy, and this is the scary part, back to something that's copyright 2018, I've got in my hand here one of the all-time worst representations of Gordon that we ever saw. And if I do a shot like that, it's almost like these two Gordons come from two totally different planets. You sort of wonder, how can a toy company get it so right and also so completely wrong? To get our head around why this Gordon is so spectacular, I can go back in time. It's a bit tricky for me to go back in time with Gordons because I gave a lot of Gordons away on my YouTube channel, but I think I've got enough there to tell a bit of a story. I've got a bit of unboxing to do here. Let me grab an old friend. Come here, sweetheart. Time to play. The trick is aim for the firebox, grab it tightly by the legs, and do this. Come on! Out of there! Yes! 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 Rubber Chicken's magical. It works every frippin' time. That is just magic. Thank you, Rubber Chicken. Okay, my chickadee, can you do it one more time? Oh, good girl. Grab her by the legs. You know what comes next. Aim for the firebox. Here we go. Ah! Come on! Get out of there! This one's proving to be a bit tricky. Oh! Come on, chicken! You can do it! Ah! This one's putting up a huge fight! Come on! Ah! Come on! Ah, I can't believe this! Get out of there! Get out of there now! Is there something wrong with you? I'm going to have to send you back to chicken unboxing education. You've got to aim for the firebox. Okay, this time, do it, please. Ah! Oh, we got there. We got there. Ah! 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 I think this chicken needs to be retired. Naughty chicken. Naughty. Anyway, I finally got the Thomas & Friends All Engines Go Gordon out of packaging. And we're going to look at this and compare it to what came before. It's quite a horror story. Quite an impressive and strange lineup of Gordons here. The Shooting Star Gordon is a bit of an anomaly, but we like to look at strange things. And I'll get these Gordons up onto the turntable and we'll have a bit of a Toy Story talk. I did a similar thing with Thomas, and we're going to wind back in time here. I'm going to go right back to 1989. We're going to take a look at an ERTL Gordon, which is very different to all the ones we're seeing flashing by here. Here he comes. There is the glorious ERTL Gordon. Maybe the infamous in-hand appraisal will work here best. What I say about ERTL toys is they're charming. You get a real sense of the scale of the engine here. The disadvantage was the coupling system, and on the tender engines, the fact the tender is joined to the engine. But what was really nice about this toy was, look at the wheel sets on this toy. It really represents Gordon in the way it should, and the face was great. Everything about this toy made you just want to put it up onto your best shelf in your room, and you could just look at this toy and just be amazed by it. That's what ERTLs were all about. Of course, the toy industry is a restless beast, and the Take-Along replaced the ERTL, and that is a beautiful metallic Take-Along Gordon. Stunning. It was a company called Learning Curve that made the Take-Along Thomas toys. It incorporated a smart magnet system, and I think I've got the tender round back the front. There is a right and wrong way, but I wouldn't know. But with the smart magnets, it didn't matter which way you attach the tender because it's still connected. They're a charming toy. I like to use the word charming. It wasn't until you started to see the other characters in this toy range, then you started to understand take-alongs and how good it was back then. I think a lot of people have forgotten how good it used to be. I've got a lot of time for take-along toys. The take-alongs was a great Thomas & Friends toy range. At the time of making this video in 2022, they're pushing 20 years old. Thank God for adult collectors YouTube. Did you hear that? Adult collectors. And I would advise you to collect them, but identify a take-along versus what came next. And that is the Take and Play range, which is a complex animal because it morphed and changed over the years. But the first version did have the smart magnet system, ran on the same track as Take-Along. But there was a whittling down of the way these toys were made. Nevertheless, this Gordon looks spectacular. It is nicely detailed. Of course, this is the retail study. I've got a Take and Play Gordon in box here. This is 2012, made in Thailand. Just remember, made in Thailand. And on the back, that was some of the other characters in the range. Patchwork Hero is there. Ferdinand, that's right. And of course, it explains the magnet coupling system. A lot of memories there, isn't there? And you tend to forget what things used to look like and how they were presented in store. It looks very nice. I've also got a 2009/10. This one's a Gordon made in China, but it's a talking Gordon, and somehow it still works. Oh, how about that? Oh, the indignity? What's up? I remember watching my son play with a toy like this that talked, but he rarely would ever push the button and make it talk. He seemed to, well, do the talking for the engine. That's the way children play. The back looked like this, and it showed you some other talking variations of the toys. I think I've got a few of those, but not all of them. It certainly was a totally different era of Thomas & Friends toys, and after this version of Take and Play, it started to go south. And by turning the turntable I can go south, although I haven't got a native Gordon, but I do have the Shooting Star version of Gordon right there. I'll do the infamous in-hand appraisal, and I'll just grab the tender here. Now, this could have been a completely awesome toy if we had a more discreet magnet. This is the dumb magnet system that I just think was a really, really bad move. We've lost details. We've now just got nipples. Oops, did I say the word nipple as representing wheels? Just bits of plastic there that don't spin. It's been dumbed down. Mind you, this is the awesome streamlined and looking version of Gordon. Oh, I unfortunately haven't got a normal version of Gordon. In fact, I turned off the toys a lot when this magnet system turned up. Let me just show you what a dumb magnet it is. Here's the beautiful Shooting Star Gordon, and if I bring the tender in and it magnetizes in that direction, fine. Okay, we can play with Gordon and do whatever we want. But if Gordon has a stuff up at the rail yards and the tender comes on the other way, look what happens. He doesn't want to connect. It wants to repel. That's what you call a dumb magnet system. The trains that came before this, and let me just grab an example of what a smart magnet system is. Okay, there we are, Gordon attached like that and attached like that. But we lost that ability, and I feel these magnets weren't as strong. In fact, it was so dumb that when Gordon got attached to, let's say, Toad, the brake van, they made the Toads back to the front. Okay, Toad's got to have his face at the back, but look at the way they made them. They were all factory errors. It was great. Okay, for the adult purists, I've got Gordon there. He's got his tender on now. Thank goodness for that. And a backwards Toad. Done. It was becoming a very awkward time for these toys, and we're dealing with 2015 and onwards now. And after this last version of Take and Plays with the dumb magnet, we had Thomas Adventures, which came along and had a clip connector, although this Gordon here is lacking in details in all sorts of ways. I'll just get the Thomas Adventures Gordon down on the table here, and I did like the clip connector of the Thomas Adventures. Sadly, they weren't around for very long, and I didn't quite work out why. I spoke about in the Thomas video how it connects to Matchbox cars, and look at this here. Okay, it's connected, and it's a nice fluid connection. It's not like it's rigid and about to go silly on you, but you can have a nice, very, very strange train, and it can also connect up. And this will flare me up. I wish I had the more Thomas versions of that. That's Loco Motoring. It's a Hot Wheels connected up to a Gordon. Now, you've never seen a train like that before in your life, have you? Well, now you have. I'll just get the Thomas Adventures Gordon back on track here. This is not native track for these trains. All the ones we've seen up to this point had their own little track systems. And what came after this at least ran on Trackmaster track, but it was unfortunately the worst Gordon what we're going to see in this range here, and here it comes. This is a total abomination to look at. It is horrible in so many ways, and this is the Trackmaster push along Gordon. Terrible. The lowest of the lows of these toys that was ever made. The big problem with this design, it's very simple. It's the way the wheels are done. Apart from the scale of the wheel versus the top part of the engine, it's this gap that's going on between the wheels. We've even lost little nipples of plastic that detailed wheels that weren't there. It is wrong in so many different ways. It's not funny, and the tender looked awkward as well. You put the two of them together, it was a double nightmare. To highlight how awkward the 2018 Gordon is, I'm going to do some flip-flop images, and I'm going to pick off the 2012 Take and Play Gordon. Both these toys were made by Mattel. They're both the same character. There's 6 years difference between the two of them in the toy marketplace, and 6 years is curiously a child's generation in the way the toy industry sees it. Now, there's a couple of questions you've got to ask yourself. How in the hell did the toy company allow the toy to be radically changed and dumbed down and so awkward looking by 2018? Did they think the consumers were blind? Well, I've got a sneaky suspicion a lot of the Thomas fans and a lot of consumers would have thought maybe people in the toy company are blind, because I tell you what, the 2018 Gordon was a complete and utter disaster. Sometimes you've got to have a train wreck to recover and rebuild, and that's what's happened here. And after this 2018 Gordon, we now see what's known as the Thomas & Friends All Engines Go version of Gordon, and I tell you what, it's a vast improvement to what came before it. I'll do an in-hand appraisal. Scale-wise, it's the tallest of all the toys in the turntable here. I'll just pick off Gordon without the tender. And because it's wintertime here, I can tell you what's plastic and what's metal by the temperature. That part there is metal, and I think the rest of this toy is plastic. There's a lot of plastic fantastic going on, but hey, at least we've got something that looks fairly darn awesome. I'll tell you what, it's a very eye-catching looking toy. It's a shame it hasn't got the little spinning wheel details that you saw on the Thomas, and I'm just reaching over to get Thomas. I like that. And when I get spinning on the turntable, I'll show you why. It doesn't have that on the wheels, which is a shame. The tender, it's light. As soon as I picked it up and almost went to the roof, so it's all plastic. Look, I'm just happy we've got something that looks way, way better than what came before. This toy is just a push-along toy. It's not powered, but I've got a little cheat here to make it look like it's powered. And when we sit on the turntable, we're hopefully going to be very impressed with what we see. And I tell you what, I am. And I'm an extremely hard marker when it comes to Thomas toys. I think this version of Gordon looks absolutely spiffo. And I come along and add Thomas, and I was talking about how Thomas has got that wheel detail. It looks interesting when it's doing that, but unfortunately Gordon doesn't have that detailing. Well, I'll tell you what, I think it looks awesome. I really think the Thomas toys have improved with the Thomas All Engines Go designs going on. Can't keep your eyes off it. You notice how Thomas has the spanky wheels. He's also got bumper details, but unfortunately Gordon didn't quite get there, and then you sort of ask yourself why, but hey, let's not be too quizzical about it. Let's just be grateful that finally we got something that's half decent looking, and crikeys, it took some time to get there. And you got to ask yourself, why did it take so long to fix this stuff up? And just on the whole concept of making right, let me just turn this off and let me get something else onto the turntable. Okay, I've loaded onto the turntable a very dark and mysterious time for Thomas & Friends toys. They are Thomas wood toys, but it's the unpainted variants of them. This isn't investment advice, but listen to me very carefully. Now, sometimes when there's an epic fail, it can become quite a valuable thing in the future, so don't discount these toys. Just think of them as things to put under your bed for a rainy day when someone in the future is going to pay a silly price for when things went drastically wrong. They did try to dress up Thomas Wood, but guess what? That failed as well. Thankfully, Thomas Wood is now on the scrap heap. Thomas Wooden Railway has returned. It's got the old track connections back, which is the classic style of wooden railway track connections. But you got to ask yourself, how come we've got to have basically a huge train wreck before the toy company making this stuff starts to wake up and understand we don't want that rubbish? In the end, the consumer always has the final say. Was up against a lot of stores being closed and all sorts of other things that we can't talk about, starting with VP&E. Maybe I should be a designer for Mattel. Maybe I could make them some easy money. It looks very impressive. I do believe there's some plastic components going on here where they're used to... Oh, frickin' hell, I can't talk. Come here, sweetheart. Time to... Oh, frippin' hell. Come here, sweetheart. Oh, frippin'. Aim for that firebox. Grab her by the legs. I'm telling you all the trade secrets here. And let her rip. And it can't stop. It's back at it. But it's really nice to see we've got this out of packaging. And also the one that came before it, so we can take a... Completely taking Gordon out of the packaging there, and both of the Gordons are ready to have a nice close look at. Oh, the indignity. Somebody's been really messing up with the toy designs over the years. I keep morphing and changing into all sorts of different looks. Can I please go back to something a little bit more classic, please? It would have been far more awesome if we had a more discreet coupling system. And apart from not being discreet, it was dumb. It was the dumb magnet coupling system. It had a clip coupling connection. Oh my god, can't talk. And in the Thomas video, I said it could connect to Matchbox toys as well. Oh my god, it's Hot Wheels. Who got their asses kicked at Mattel for making the toy look so ridiculously crappy?